Hey there, lurkers. What do you think about... Well, we got to cancel Netflix again. We're going to have a little chat about Super Mario Brothers and our review of Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves.
That sounds like a good time, so let's lurk. Okay, so if you listened to our last episode, which you most likely did because you're wonderful, you're lovely,
And you're here.
and you're here. So we ended last show talking about canceling Netflix because
They want to
making you
milk
pay.
us. Want to
Yes.
milk the teat of my $8.
You've got nipples, and they're gonna try and milk us for all that we're worth. Well, I found this story a little bit earlier in the week, and I thought, oh man, that's gonna make a lot of people upset. Willie, have you clicked on the link for the story?
Yeah, and I'm not sure what I'm looking at here.
You are just watching a trailer for a brand new movie that is going to be coming out on Netflix. And before you finish it, just pause it real quick.
Okay.
I just want to ask you a couple questions, and we'll play a little tiny game called, you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? So, Netflix coming up with an original movie, good thing or bad thing?
Good thing.
Netflix coming up with an original animated movie in a similar vein of Into the Spider-Verse.
Questionable.
You don't like the Spider-Verse animation style?
I love the animation style. Okay, yeah, good thing.
Okay, then you guys say it's a good thing. All right. Netflix coming out with a really nice animated movie, original, starring Chloe Grace Moretz, Riz Ahmed, and Eugene Liang from the Try Guys.
Yeah.
Good thing, bad thing.
Nothing that you said there sounds like a bad thing. I don't understand.
All right. Well, why would I say that Netflix has got to be canceled? Well, the main character has got devil wings and a devil tail.
Oh no, it's coming. It's on its way back, isn't it? Is this all those wasps coming at us?
I'm just saying, like right now, people are walking into Targets, yelling at workers for questionable
Rainbows.
clothing choices. Yep.
Beer
so
cans.
I saw this trailer, and to me, it starts out like, oh, this looks really awesome. This looks fun and cool, and oh god, nobody's gonna like that. Nope, they're gonna hate that. Oh, why? And it's just like, it's not now, because the people that this is targeted at, they're watching this trailer thinking like, this is awesome. But when it finally debuts on June 30th, Nimona, which is actually based on a graphic novel comic thing,
Yep.
I think is going to do very well, but so well that it'll like trickle into the Fox Newses of the world, and they're going to be like,
God.
is this what Netflix is forcing down the throats of our children? And I'm just putting it out there. So like, you know, let's get some good press into this. This looks like a really fun story. The animation studio that Netflix got to work on this, they look top notch. Obviously, the actors that they got involved, we know they're top notch. I think that this looks really fun and encourage a lot of people to check it out.
Now, I like the style and the genre of a Pixar or a Disney animated film. It has become synonymous with, this is what an animated film should look like. They've got the market. It's like Kleenex, right? Into the Spider-Verse showed that franchises could do something different. They could be a bit risky. Netflix saying, hey, we want to get in on this game. We're going to give this a shot. Obviously, anime has always done something a little bit different. Mm-hmm. I am excited for mainstream Western audiences to get a different type of animation style, because we all know we need it. We need something to break up that monotony. Watch the movie. If it's not good, fine. But at least it'll give a little bit of credence to some of these artists that probably put a ton of work into it.
Yeah, we need some of that fresh blood that all the leftists are stealing from babies.
Excuse me? Hey, speaking of all that blood, am I right? Let's talk about Super Mario Bros. Two bros in New York living that $1.4 million lifestyle as plumbers.
Well, they're super. They're very super. I thankfully had a chance to finally sit down and watch the Super Mario Brothers movie with my nephew, and he loves this movie so much. Before we started watching it, it's all he wanted to do. Like, he was just like, "Can we watch it now?" We're like, "No, we have to go outside and play first." He's like, "But I want to watch it now." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, we can."
No, kick rocks.
Yeah. And then we went outside, and the whole time we were outside, he's like playing with the bubble gun, which is, so, you know, number one, the American way. Number two, it's supposed to be fun and joyful.
That's how America does it. That's how Jesus does it.
That's right. Best kind of gun to give a kid, if you're asking me. The bubbles are flowing, but the frown is so large because essentially that's all he can think about. He's just consumed by this. And I was like, "Hey, buddy, what if you just told me like the beginning of the movie? How does it start?" And he's like, "Okay." And he goes on as a 4-year-old now to recant the entire beginning of the movie.
How many times has he seen it?
3 times by now. Like, his parents bought it day one. They watched it, and that's like apparently all he's been interested in.
Yes.
So dinner arrives. We sit down. He is like, you know, as close to the TV as, I don't know, legally possible.
Licking it.
Yeah, pretty much. And based on what we've talked about before, you saw it. You said, "I can totally see why this is a $1 billion movie franchise now."
100%.
Illumination Studios did a fantastic job. Like, everything looks spotless and shiny and fun. I thought it was great. Yes, very polished. Kind of like you said, the story is very generic. It's very like by the book. You can tell it's not trying to break any ground.
It is a Saturday morning cartoon story. There is nothing challenging or there's nothing with depth. It is just a fun kids movie.
There is one small thing that probably was so out of left field that most people didn't understand why it was included. But that little star from like Mario Galaxy or Sunshine or something like that. Him just
the
like
depressed star.
like like having a crisis of conscience. Saying there is no hope. The only mercy is death. Like, just saying everyone's gonna die, like
saying
just,
what we're all thinking.
Right.
Every parent in that audience is like, "Oh my God, it's so true."
Except for those lawyers in New York making that brownstone money. I can't.
Oh God.
I can't think there's got to be many therapists in New York. Like, I mean, everybody's just got to be happy, right? Everybody.
Yeah. Never anybody sad there.
But anyway, that was the only thing that I felt was for adults to laugh at. They're like, "Oh, you guys have been sitting through this the whole time. Let's throw you a bone." Did you think that Chris Pratt's voice was so off-putting that it ruined the movie?
No. There was a few moments where I was like, not a huge fan of this, but I think it quickly gets lost. And they did enough of the sound effects of his voice from like jumping or hitting the ground, it didn't really, to me, become an issue of like, it didn't pull me out of the film.
I was listening for it right away because that's all everybody talked about up until the movie's release. But once I just kind of sat back and enjoyed the ambiance of everything, it's just faded into the background with everything else. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like the story beats. I like the ending. Did you watch the stingers?
No.
Yeah, there's 2 stingers, and the mid-credit scene is Jack Black getting to sing more.
But, is that where he's singing as the little one?
Yeah, he's a little guy.
Okay, yep, I saw that one. Okay.
And then the final stinger, which is very ironic because my nephew had all of these little Mario toys out in front of him. And of course, we had to have all of them watching the movie with us. But one of the characters, he goes, "This person isn't in the movie." And I go, "Who is that?" And he goes, I don't know. One of the most popular Mario characters that exist. Well, the very end credit stinger is a weaving through the Brooklyn City pipes again. And something came through, and it was a little egg.
Oh?
And it cracks open, and you hear the famous Yoshi voice, and then fade to black.
They're gonna build a platform on this movie. I'm excited for it. I think it'll just be a fun thing for us to experience, maybe every other year, or knowing how quickly these franchises like to pump out content maybe once or twice a year.
I would say it's gonna go Minions and Mario, but maybe Mario has replaced Minions. Maybe kids don't want to see that anymore. It's just gonna be Mario.
I think Mario's gonna be it. It's gonna have way more staying power, I think, than Minions will.
And speaking of movies, we'd like to get into, what do you think about Dungeons and Dragons? You messaged me yesterday saying, do you think you could watch this in time? And I was like, I don't even know if it's streaming. Like, does he want me to go to the movie theater and see this? The nice thing about it is that Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is on Paramount Plus, which is something I subscribe to. Thank you to Star Trek. And because they haven't made people stop sharing passwords yet. But when did you see this?
I saw it opening weekend.
Okay, you went into the theaters to see that.
I did. Yep. Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score has it at 91% and the audience score at 93%. While over on the IMDb, we're looking at like a 7.4 out of 10 stars.
Did you have it this highly rated when we talked about it last?
I did.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel great because I love this movie. I thought it was hilarious. I thought the story was good. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons though. Like, I barely know anything about it.
I feel like you have, right?
I have played one campaign, but I have not played since.
Okay.
And seeing how like all these celebrities play it and these very popular podcasts and YouTube channels, they're like super into it. You know, there's like people who have become famous just from playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I think it's very fascinating. I'm very happy for everybody, kind of jealous. But I took all of that kind of emotion and carried it into watching this movie. But still, like, kind of cleared my head thinking like, I don't know, other than like some sort of medieval period piece, like what this is going to be, what to expect. And then I just said, all right, let's go. Let's entertain me or
suspend disbelief and allow yourself into a film with no preconceptions of what things are.
So first thing I'll say is I loved the trailer and how it did not give away actual story beats. There was a lot of things in the trailer where you're thinking like, oh man, this is going to be amazing to see. But as it turns out, it's just somebody retelling a story that happened a long time ago. It doesn't really necessarily play into the main story. And it's the worst thing in the world when a trailer spoils anything in the movie, especially like a critical point at the end where you're like, I already know what's going to happen.
What the F? This person was supposed to be dead.
Yeah. So that was really good. Chris Pine, fantastic job.
Oh, he was built for this role.
This is probably like the best performance I've seen from her in a decade. You watched Bridgerton? Did you?
I haven't.
Okay. The guy who played the Paladin, he seems...
I'm going to butcher his name because it's hyphenated. Regé-Jean Page.
So when he popped up in this movie, I was like, oh, they're going for that audience. I see. But it worked. Like, he plays a perfect straight man. Hugh Grant, who we haven't seen in a really long time, is back into the limelight now, and I thought he was great in his con man role.
Daisy Head, who plays the bald-headed wizard. Obviously, we're not going to give any spoilers away in this part. I think was amazing. She played the character of Sophina. When we get into spoilers, I'll share a lot of my specifics there, but a breakout role in many ways. Like, she just did such a phenomenal job.
She hasn't been in anything huge, it looks like. So this is kind of her big role. And yeah, I think she killed it. I think the whole cast killed it.
Are you excited for them to do more of this? Because clearly this is going to be the stepping stone into another potential franchise.
I hope so. And I think when we were talking about it last time, my hope was that if it did well, that it could potentially be like an actual campaign. Like they either keep the same crew and they go on another adventure, or potentially take another crew and put them on an adventure. So, like, let's say you can't get Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez because they're making Star Trek 45 and Fast and Furious 9000. It would be
Then we
great.
get Zoe Saldana. She's done with Guardians. Let's put her in this.
Just replace Chris Pine with Zoe Saldana. Yep. Let's do it. I think it'd go either way. I think the people that directed, produced, wrote this just have a hit and potentially a franchise hit.
I agree. What is your score out of 10?
I would give this movie probably a 9 out of 10.
Thank you. Thank you. It is, yes. There are so many things that are right about this movie. And the thing is there are moments where you think, oh, this movie could end right now and I'd be satisfied. But it tells so much. Like, what they took is they took a story that was huge, that could have been played out in an entire season of Game of Thrones, and compressed it into roughly 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel, it's 2 hours and 14 minutes. It doesn't feel too long.
No, I felt the opposite. Like, I felt as it was going on that it was going to end too early, that it wasn't going to give me enough. But I felt, as I usually do, very satisfied at the end. When it comes to like anything fantasy. So like I'm coming into this biased. I'm just gonna let you know, big nerd, but this basically tickled all of my fancies.
So, unless there's anything else, I think we need to get into some spoilers.
Yes, so this is the point where you're gonna either stop listening, in which case, thank you. Love you.
See you next week. Go watch it on Paramount Plus and come on back and listen.
Yeah. Or you can also fast forward several minutes to the end where Willie's gonna be naked.
I've been naked bottom half. I've Donald Ducked this whole thing. Can we rephrase that? Can we call that Donald Dicked?
Well, I mean,
Donald
my phone
Dickin'
auto-corrected it to Donald Duck anyway, so. All right, spoilers.
My favorite moment of this film is a surprise. It is a moment that was unexpected. It was when they're breaking into the castle in the third act. They're trying to fight their way back in, right? And Chris Pine's character starts being the bard, which is the musical singing, the charismatic character, and all of a sudden the illusion starts to fall apart.
Braid.
It's unexpected, and it is just the funniest moment. I lost it.
For me, that was arguably the worst CGI in the entire film, but it also it also resolves itself when you find out it's because it's an illusion. It's not supposed to look perfect. But yeah, like where he starts to like bloat and shrink into himself. Yeah, especially since like the whole mood was serious at the time. It was a really nice bit of levity in the moment. I don't know if I had like a favorite part. Oh, maybe the scene where they have to go grave robbing and digging up the whole village. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. and that honestly was a complaint of Joel's, is that's not how Speak with the Dead works. You can cast it like once in a day before you need to take a long rest.
And this is where not being a fan of D&D I felt helped me, because as I was watching it, I didn't have a guide with me, and I wasn't going through and like fact checking things, but I also have heard enough terms and known, like, I know what a mimic is. So when they opened up that chest and it turned out to be a monster, I was like, cool, that's awesome. And when the paladin was explaining like how they have to cross the bridge in a very specific sequence, and then at the end or like halfway through they have to change it, I could just feel like it was a dungeon master like saying like, okay, here's what you have to do, and you have to roll through all these checks and stuff, and it just it felt like a nice homage for people who maybe aren't like tried and true but have played the game, and they're like, oh, I get that. Oh, I was going to say, I just feel like all of the writers of this show must have a game or have played the game. Like, they wouldn't go through and hire people that didn't have some sort of experience, or like they didn't consult with Wizards of the Coast for this, because it was so...
Can we go one step further?
Oh, yeah.
I think that much of the way that this was written was them playing a game of D&D. Like, they had to have rolled to say, is this a critical fail? Is this a critical success? Is it getting a nat 20, right? Are we finding moments where we're going to roll for these decisions and see how it comes out in favor or not in favor of the character, right?
Did you feel like there was anything in the movie that felt like a roll was about to happen? Because honestly, with the way all the story beats go, nothing really bad happens to the party. Everything kind of goes their way throughout the whole thing. Even if something like dangerous happens, or, you know, like what happens to Michelle Rodriguez's character in the end. There's always been like a nat 20 roll to do something to turn the tide in the party's favor.
Yeah, I think it was all about good decisions. And instead of them saying like, the failures in D&D happen in choices that you make. Can I slink around this corner and not get caught? It's not a big overarching thing. So do arrows miss, or does my bard magic illusion fall apart, right? Those are moments where like you can see the dice roll and the decisions then that the characters need to make because it didn't turn out in their favor, right? It's every time a choice or an action happens, you see the consequence, and then it keeps moving forward, right? The characters react to those moments.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often.
The only one that I was able to like pick out, or at least right away notice, was when they're about to cross the bridge collapses because the wizard stepped on it, or the sorcerer stepped on it.
Yeah.
And then the fighter just happened to have this staff on them. And I feel like that's a point where like, okay, roll a perception check. And then the wizard just happened to notice that this stick was not just a walking stick. It's actually the staff of Jelly Belly, and it can open portals, you know?
What did you think about the villain?
I actually was texting Joel while I was watching this movie, asking him like, are the red wizards pretty popular in the game? Can you be a red wizard or a Thayer or a Harper? Thane? Thane? Can you be these people that they're talking about? And he was like, who are the red wizards? And so I had to like go on the D&D wiki to make sure like, oh, this is actually a thing that's in one of the books at some point in time. So like the main bad we only got to see in a flashback. Shazam was the main bad.
Yep.
He's hiding in, doing his Voldemort impression, hiding in the mirror, painting. And then your favorite character in the movie, the bad guy, Daisy.
Yep.
She was part of this red wizard tribe thing, race, I don't know. And it was a good plan. It was a good plan. She was obviously very evil, very powerful. It wasn't seeming, I mean, it didn't seem like at any point they were going to lose. So like I was never worried. I mean, seriously, like that's my only complaint, is that this movie felt like the heroes were going to triumph the whole time. There wasn't, nothing was standing in their way. I still give it a 9 out of 10, but that's that one point is like, okay, well, I don't feel any sort of danger for this. And it's supposed to be a comedy, so I guess that's to be expected.
I think like if you're thinking of this movie as like a meant for kids, That wizard was Sophina was scary.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, bald head with tattoos. Not very.
It was the unblinking eyes, man.
Oh, yeah. And she had a lot of like raccoon makeup around to make him look really deep.
Dude, it was like we're coming right out of like a scary movie these days. I don't watch horror movies, man. I was scared.
And then she started to turn into Voldemort at the end too. It was just like, oh, what's going on? That part was a little confusing because I didn't know if like the Shazam guy was like trying to possess her or come through, or if she took the mantle of Shazam.
That's what she was doing. She was taking the mantle.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then that makes sense.
You idiot. I love the movie. I'd highly recommend it. Go see it wherever you can.
That's our show, lovely lurkers. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Please rate and review wherever you lurk.
We appreciate the love so much. So let's remember to be kind to each other, and we'll see you next week.